Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you joining us today. So we're thrilled to bring you this insightful webinar organized by the ESOFT College of Engineering and Technology in proud collaboration with the Institution of Civil Engineers, UK. This is an annual webinar designed especially for students who are about to graduate and step into the professional world. So whether you're an engineering student, a budding civil engineer, or someone looking up to level up in the field, you're in for an incredible, valuable session today. So before we move forward, just a quick note for everyone. All participants' microphones will remain muted throughout the session. So if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the chat box, and we'll be addressing them during our dedicated Q&A segment at the end. Today, we are here to dive into a topic that lies at the heart of every engineering professional journey: institutional memberships all the way up to chartership. And to lead us through this discussion, we are truly honored to welcome 𝗖𝘁𝗵 𝗠𝗪𝗀, a distinguished professional who has guided countless engineers through the process of gaining professional recognition in the UK. 𝗖𝘁 serves as the membership recruitment lead for the South Asia region at the Institution of Civil Engineers. She holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering honours from the University of Nottingham and a Master of Business Administration from Aston University, which complement her work in mentoring and assessment within the engineering sector. With her rich experience in professional development, membership assessment, and mentoring, she brings a sharp understanding of what it really takes to achieve chartered engineer status. Today, she'll be walking us through the structured pathways to different memberships via ICE, highlighting the core competencies, the key documents you need, and the best practices you need to stand out. So let's get right into it. 𝗖𝘁, thank you so much for being here with us, and the stage is all yours.
Great, thank you very much, and welcome to everybody. Let me just share my screen. And I apologise if I'm a bit slow on this because I don't very often use Zoom. I tend to use Teams, so hopefully it's going to work okay. Yeah, so can you see that now? Is that okay? It's still coming. My screen sharing, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, apologies for that. Yes, I wasn't sure whether you could see it or not. Right. So yeah, my name's 𝗖𝘁𝗵 𝗠𝗪𝗀. I've been working for the ICE for about 7, 8, almost 8 years now. And as you said in my introduction, I'm here to support people across South Asia in gaining their ICE professional qualification. So I'm going to do a sort of broad overview today of the sorts of things you're going to need to know to become a chartered or an incorporated engineer, a professionally qualified engineer with the ICE, how you do that, the things you need to think about, and what the value is of it. And I think that's really important, that you need to understand why there is value in this qualification. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to the ICE, who we are, what we're about. I'll talk about the ICE professional qualification. And when I say professional qualification, I mean that chartership level, or it might be incorporated engineer level, depending on what you're aiming for. And then I'll talk a bit about graduate membership of the ICE, because for most of you, that is probably going to be the first stage and the first thing you're going to need to think about doing on your journey to becoming professionally qualified. And then, as we said, there'll be time for any questions at the end. So who are we? So the ICE is a very old organisation, the Institution of Civil Engineers. We've been around for over 200 years. We're based in the UK, but importantly, we have a global presence. And my next slide will give you some numbers on that. But importantly for you, we have this global presence, which means people recognise us wherever they are in the world. But just to tell you a bit about what we do, If you look at this slide, well, the first thing maybe to point out is that picture in the top right-hand side, that very grand building. That is our headquarters in London. It's very close to the Houses of Parliament, right in the centre of London. So if any of you have a trip to London, do go and have a look. You can walk in and have a look around. It's a very grand building. But importantly, if you look at the circle in the middle and that top left-hand corner, qualifications. So that is one of our key roles, and that's what I'm here mainly to talk to you about. We are licensed by the Engineering Council of the UK to assess people, to assess engineers against certain professional competencies, and then we can assign them that chartership level of membership or incorporated engineer level of membership. And I'll talk a bit more about the levels in a minute. So that's really important. That's the key to what I'm going to talk about today, those qualifications. And that picture is just people going to pick up their degree, their qualification certificates in London. But it's worth remembering that there's lots more about the ICE. There's lots more that we can do and lots more that membership of the ICE can support you with. So knowledge sharing, we have lots and lots of knowledge resources that you can access as members or non-members of the ICE. And I will talk a little bit about that later on and show you some of the things that you can engage with. But we have a whole knowledge sharing department. So if there's areas of civil engineering where you need extra knowledge, you might find a webinar, you can access the library. We have specialists that you can talk to. We see ourselves as the voice of infrastructure. So particularly in the UK, we have the ear of government. So when the government are involved in that, they need to comment on or make decisions on big infrastructure projects, they will talk to the ICE. So that is valuable, more maybe for somebody in the UK, but that level of influence we have around the world is really important. And we have a professional services arm. And the professional services arm, there are a number of different parts to it. We have a recruitment arm, so where you can look for jobs, mainly again, I think in the UK. We have a training arm. We manage the NEC contract. Now, you might not have heard of the NEC contract. It's a contract form used very widely in infrastructure projects in the UK, but also around the world. So we manage that contract. So there are lots of things that the ICE does and ways that you can use your ICE membership to help you. Excuse me. I've said some of this already. We're a very old institution. We were formed in 1818. We have over 90, we actually have around 95,000 members, I think, at the moment. It fluctuates during the year. And we have members in actually over 160 countries, I think. So that global presence, because you are not based in the UK, and when you get a job, you might not be working in the UK, that global presence and that global recognition is really, really important and gives you massive value to your membership. So if you become a member of the ICE, regardless of whether you're working in Sri Lanka or the UK or the US or the Middle East, people will recognize that ICE membership as a mark of quality. And that's why there is value in working towards it. As I've said before, we promote civil engineering around the world. We're the Centre of Engineering Knowledge, and we are licensed by the UK Engineering Council. The UK Engineering Council sets the standards that we assess people against, and we then assess them and award their qualification. And you can see there are 3 levels of professional qualification are EngTech, Technician Engineer, iEng, Incorporated Engineer, and CEng, Chartered Engineer. And the next slide shows you a bit more about the membership grades. So here are all the membership grades. Now, starting at the bottom, the lowest level entry is student members, and hopefully some of you are already student members. If you're not, if you are still a student, if you haven't graduated yet, you can become a student member. You can start to access the benefits of the ICE already. And I will talk a little bit about that later. And an ICE membership as a student member is free. Now, for those of you who are graduating or already graduated, the next stage would be for you to become a graduate member. And again, I'll talk a little bit about the process a bit later on, but just talking about the different grades that are available now. But the great thing about becoming a graduate member is that you can already use those letters GMIC, Graduate Member of the Institution of Civil Engineers. You can already put those on your CV after your name, on your email sign off, and potential employers will see that you are already focused on your career. So that's a great thing to be able to do. And the top three, the ones in the lighter blue color, those are the professional membership levels that you will need to pass a review, an assessment, in order to gain. Now, for most of you, because you're doing degrees, you probably won't want to look at becoming a technician member of the ICE. So I'm not really going to talk about that. But sometimes people do that on their way to becoming an incorporated or a chartered engineer. So incorporated chartered engineer for people working in engineering roles with degrees, with civil engineering degrees. These are normally the levels they'll be looking at. And as you can see there, chartered engineer is just a bit higher than incorporated engineer. So you may choose to aim for chartered engineer, you may choose to aim for incorporated engineer, and then maybe do chartered engineer afterwards. It is all about the competencies. So a chartered engineer is somebody who is showing, has leadership skills, is being innovative in the work they're doing, is improving things. But again, I'll talk about that a bit more when we talk about how you become a member. But chartered engineer, incorporated engineer are probably the levels that you will be aiming for once you are working. Why do civil engineers join the ICE? I've said some of this already. We are globally recognized. We are industry standard. As I said, wherever you go in the world, if you're chartered with the ICE, people know that you have passed a certain level of qualification and you have certain skills. So it really supports your career progression. But on the other hand, as I said, beyond the qualifications, it gives you that access to world-class knowledge. It gives you massive networking opportunities. We have quite a few members in Sri Lanka. And I'll talk a bit more in a minute about the Early Careers Network for South Asia. It gives you access to that. And, you know, not so much probably working in Sri Lanka, but people working in the UK do have the option if they get high enough in the organization to actually inform public policy. So there is that real value there. And again, another reason for joining the ICE, we have a very broad membership. There are obviously other, or not obviously, you may know there are other engineering council organizations. There is the Chartered Institution of Highways, there's the structural engineers, there's the water engineers. And the great thing about the ICE is that we cover everything. So it doesn't matter whether you're going into transport or structures or geotech, whether you work for a contractor, a consultant, or a client. There is no typical member, so we represent everybody. That is why we've got such a big membership, and that gives you extra value. Okay, so that's a little bit about the ICE. I'm now going to talk more specifically about getting an ICE professional qualification and what the process is and what the value is to you. Starting off looking at the benefits. And again, some of this I've already mentioned. I'm sure much of this you know. But the benefits of any professional qualification are these, and that there might be more. So improved career prospects. When you are looking to get a job, if you have a professional qualification which is globally recognized, that will help you get a job around the world. When you are in a job, it will help you progress. There are certain parts of the world, if you wanted, for instance, to work in the UK, there are certain contracts, particularly government contracts, where people need to be qualified with the ICE or qualified with an engineering council organisation. A client will need so many people who are qualified working on the job, for example. As a result, it gives you higher earning potential because there is more demand for people with professional qualifications. It will help your career progress and help your earning potential. It's a real demonstration of your professional attitude. So for any potential employer looking at you, whether you have actually completed your professional qualification or even if you're just working towards it, they can see that you have a professional attitude to your work and you want to progress. So that looks really good. It gives you enhanced status. It gives you that international recognition, which I've already said. And really importantly, it's independent evidence of your expertise. So people around you, when you're working, people around you will know how good you are. They will know what you can do. But by having a professional qualification, you are assessed against certain competencies by independent reviewers. So anybody then seeing that you are, for instance, a chartered engineer with the ICE can see you've passed those competencies and that you have those competencies. So it's that independence, evidence and verification of the expertise you have. So it's quite hard work. There's no point in telling you that it's easy to become a chartered engineer with the ICE or with anyone else, but there is massive value in gaining that qualification. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about what the process is and how you get there. So it is a 3-stage process, and depending on the qualifications people have, the experience they have, there are slightly different routes. So I'm going to give you a general overview. So 3 stages: academic qualifications. In order to pursue the standard route to membership, you need certain academic qualifications. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in a minute. And that's obviously where you are now. And hopefully for all of you, because you have done a degree, you will be able to use our standard route to membership. Then we have the stage where you are out in the workplace and gaining new competencies. So learning new skills to become a professionally competent engineer. Now we call this stage Initial Professional Development, IPD. And once you start your progress, you'll see this phrase, these letters around IPD. All IPD is, Initial Professional Development, is you being able to demonstrate the competencies we require, which I will go through in a minute. So you go into the workplace, you spend a period of time gradually gaining experience, gaining competencies. Once you can demonstrate all the appropriate competencies, you are said to have completed IPD, completed initial professional development, and you can then apply for your professional review. And there are a number of different ways that you can demonstrate IPD, demonstrate those competencies in order to get to the professional review. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those. But we'll start by talking about the academic qualifications. Oh, as we move forward, there we are. Now, just using the basis of UK accredited qualifications, and I don't believe, unless something's changed since I last spoke, that your qualifications are UK accredited. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But for somebody who had UK accredited qualifications, if they had a bachelor's degree, they would be eligible for iEng. So they could start working towards iEng, that incorporated engineer status. For those with a master's degree, they will have eligibility for chartership, so they can work towards chartered engineer. Now, I will say now, if you have a bachelor's degree, so you're eligible for incorporated engineer, you will still be able to become a chartered engineer if you have the right competencies. There's just a slightly different process, so something to think about in the future. Because you won't have an accredited qualification, you will need to apply for an academic assessment. And there's a link there in those slides, and I can send these slides afterwards. In an academic assessment, basically what happens is you send in details of your degree or degrees. Those are assessed by our academic qualifications panel, and they are assessing what you have learnt through your degree and matching that against what is required by the Engineering Council to give you iEng eligibility or CEng eligibility. Now, hopefully, because you are a recognised degree and you're linked to a UK degree, if you're doing a bachelor's degree, you will be iEng eligible. If you're doing a master's degree, you will be CEng eligible, but I'm afraid you will have to go through that process of the academic assessment to confirm it. So once you've completed your degree, that's probably one of the first things to do. Okay, so now we've looked at the academic qualifications. You know that you're iEng or CEng eligible. You've done the academic assessment. We're now going to talk about this stage in the middle, IPD, Initial Professional Development, and how do you demonstrate it? How do you get signed off to say, yes, you've completed IPD so that you can apply for your professional review? So, our competencies, the competencies that you will need to demonstrate, and this is once you're in work. This isn't something you can do before you're in work. This is something to start thinking about once you have a job. And we call our competencies that we want you to demonstrate the attributes. And there are 7 attributes that you will need to demonstrate in order to confirm that you've completed Initial Professional Development, IPD, and also you'll need to demonstrate them again at your professional review. So these are the 7 attributes. And as you can see, it's not just about demonstrating technical competencies. You also need to show that you have competence in management and leadership, commercial ability, health, safety and welfare, sustainable development, interpersonal skills and communication, and professional commitment. And when you go onto our website, there is a full description of all the attributes. And for each attribute, there are 2 or 3 sub things that you have to demonstrate. So, for instance, under commercial ability, you need to demonstrate your ability to manage and control budgets. You need your ability to understand the contracts you're working under and to manage the contracts you're working under. So there are sort of 3 different subpoints under commercial ability that you need to demonstrate. And as you're working, you'll be gradually gaining competencies against all these attributes over a period of years. And I'll talk about how long it'll take you to do in a minute. But this is what you're going to need to do. You'll need to demonstrate the attributes for your IPD. And then once you've done that, you can apply for your professional review. And there are 3 ways to demonstrate your ability at IPD to get sign off to say you can go for your professional review. For new graduates, the top one is probably the route you're going to be taking, and it's called mentor supported training. And basically, you will need to find yourself a mentor. They don't need to be a member of the ICE, but ideally they would be a member of the ICE. We need to approve them. They then work with you over a period of years. You will be submitting evidence of your competencies to them. They sign it off. Once you've signed off all the attributes, then you're said to have completed IPD and you can apply for your professional review. So that's mentor supported training. Now, the one below, it's grayed out because it probably won't be something you'll be able to use, but it might be. So we also have something called a training agreement. Now, this is exactly the same process as mentor supported training, using the same portal to upload evidence and have it signed off. But it's if you're working for a company that has an approved scheme with us. So for somebody working in the UK, there are many companies there. Most companies there will have an approved scheme and people can use a training agreement. If you're working in Sri Lanka or most other parts of the world, you probably won't. You'll probably need to use the mentor supported training. But as I say, you don't need to worry. It's exactly the same process. You might just have to find your own mentor. And the final one is for experienced engineers. So we have something called the career appraisal assessment. So for somebody who doesn't start working towards the ICE membership early when they graduate using mentor supported training, but leave it until they've got all the competencies already, then they could use the career appraisal route. So that's for people who already have all the competencies. But hopefully you'll all be looking towards mentor supported training if that's possible. And you know, if once you're out in the world of work, if you contact the ICE, if you don't have anyone who can be your mentor, we might be able to help you. We can't always promise, but if you're working in Sri Lanka, for instance, I have some links and I can talk to the volunteer ICE representative in Sri Lanka, and we will do our best to help you if you don't have anybody. So just to describe that in a bit more detail, there's a link there to the guidance document. So it is about your development against the 7 attributes. You will be working with an ICE approved mentor, but as I say, you need to find them, but we can help you. The mentor will be hopefully working with you on a day by day, week by week basis. You, as you gain competencies, you will submit evidence to them of your competencies, and they will approve it on our online portal. And once they have approved you across all the 7 attributes, they will do a sign off to say you've completed your IPD, you're ready for your professional review. That might take a few years. And as I said, I'll talk about that a bit in a minute. I just added this slide in just in case. So we have a portal on our website which shows the improved employers. So when you're looking for jobs, it's worth putting the details of the company into our improved employers search just in case they have a scheme with us, so that you could use the training agreement route rather than the mentor supported route. But you might not need to do that. If you were coming to work in the UK, for example, you probably would be able to use that route. So going back to that flow chart, so we've talked about the educational base, we've talked about initial professional development. As I said, it takes a few years. So it probably takes at least 5 years from starting work to get to the right level of competency for chartered engineer. It takes three years minimum to get to the level of incorporated engineer. But it's important that you know that it's not about the number of years you've worked. It's about being able to demonstrate the competencies. So depending on the work you are doing and your ability to focus on the competencies, it'll be either shorter or longer. On average, it takes people 7 years, I think, to get to chartership. So it's not a quick process, and it requires some work from you. But once you're there, once you have completed IPD, you've got all those competencies, you can then apply for your professional review. I'm not going to tell you much about that because it's a long way away, but basically you write a report to demonstrate your competencies, you submit your application, you will then have an interview, a review with 2 volunteer reviewers who will be asking your questions about the competencies, and what they want to confirm is that you have the right level. You can demonstrate all the attributes to the right level, iEng or CEng level. And if you can do that, then you pass and you become iEng or CEng. So that's an overview of the pathway for you in the future. So I'm going to talk now a little bit about graduate membership. So it's important to say there are many reasons that graduate membership is beneficial to you. One of the key reasons is that in order to use mentor supported training, in order to use that route, you must be a graduate member. So lots of reasons to be a graduate member. I'm going to start first of all, though, by just mentioning student membership, because I know that some of you might not have graduated, you might be a bit earlier on, you might be just starting. So if you're one of those people, if you're still a student or you're going to become a student, I would really encourage you to look at taking out student membership. It's free, which is a real benefit. And I think the best thing, in some ways, the best thing about student membership is that you can put it on your CV. So when you get to the point that you're looking for a job, or even maybe looking for a job in a vacation, you can say that you're a student member of the ICE, and that already shows people your commitment to your career. But there are other things. You can access all sorts of knowledge. So the IC Learning Hub, you can't access as a non-member. You can access as a member. There are training schemes, which I'll show you in a minute, which you can access as a member. You get a digital copy of our regular monthly magazine, the NCE. It gives you networking opportunities, globally recognized, etc. So lots of reasons to join the ICE as a student member. And as I say, it's free, so why wouldn't you? What you'll need to do is it's very simple. You go into our website. If you look at the right-hand corner on that slide, you can say, have you already registered for a My ICE account? You will need to do that. Also for graduate membership, if you're not already a student member, you register for a non-member account to start with, and then you go onto the website and you provide details on your course. You need the name of a tutor, and your personal details, and then very quickly you could do it on your phone as we're speaking. When I do this, when I talk to people in the UK and I'm talking to people in a lecture theatre, I'll often get them to get their phones out and do their student membership while we sit in the room. So it's very, very simple. So that's student membership. Now, for most of you, I think it's going to be looking at graduate membership. So what are the benefits of graduate membership? Probably you've already worked them out. It will help you because you can then sign up for mentor supported training when you have a job. You can't do it without that graduate membership, but you also get that expert advice through webinars. As I said, there are certain training courses that you can access. You have people like me supporting you. It gives you can already put those letters 𝗬𝗵 after your name. You can access the ICE rewards. Not sure that's why many people join, but lots and lots of reasons why you can set why it's worth joining the ICE as a graduate member. And I think putting those letters after your name and saying you're a graduate member on your CV is probably really important. So to join, again, relatively straightforward, but obviously not quite so straightforward as a student membership. And there's a link there to help you. So the top link gives you some more information. That red link is where you go in to actually do the graduate membership. Now, fees, we do have fees for graduate membership. If you are already a student member, you can upgrade to graduate membership for free till the end of 2025, and then you will need to start paying. Now, it's about £170 UK fees a year, but all the fees are on our website, so do have a look. We will need your university details. You will need to go through that academic assessment. So you will apply for your graduate membership. Our graduate membership team they'll come back to you and say you need to be yes, you can be made a graduate member, but we also need to do an academic assessment. And again there is a small fee for that. So it's a process of applying, submitting your documentation, getting approved, getting your academic assessment through, and then you become a graduate member, and you will hopefully then be a graduate member either with iEng or CEng eligibility. So you can then start to look at getting your mentor supported training agreement in place and start moving forward once you're working. So yeah, that's the graduate membership side of things. A few things just to talk about now. I've said that I'll talk a little bit about the webinars and things that you can access to support you. These aren't as updated as they should be, these slides, but just so as you know, so we have an early careers, a South Asia early careers network. So that includes people from a number of the different chapters in India, from Bangladesh, from Sri Lanka, obviously, from Pakistan, from Nepal. And it's a group of mainly young graduates who are putting together this network, and they run events. They run mainly, online events. So you can see there, the last one they did was on PAS 2080 carbon management statement. So it's worth having a look. You've got a link there to their LinkedIn group. It's worth having a look. you might want to get involved, and it can be really valuable. And I think we have a volunteer representative from Sri Lanka at the moment, but again, you could find out who that was, and it might be somebody who's worth talking to. We also run lots of webinars. Again, these are a bit out of date. You can access all of these now. You don't need to be a member to access these. They can be a little bit focused on the UK, but there's lots of really interesting things as well. So it's really worth having a look at what's on offer. And these are really good, the 5-week courses, and you can only access these as a member, a graduate member or a student member. I'm not sure that there are any on the website at the moment. We normally run one of each once a year, and they come out at a variety of times during the year, but they're really well viewed. There is a cost for these, but it's quite small. It's like in pounds, about £25 or something. And there might be a discount if needed. And you can also see at the bottom, we do these specific bite-size sessions for students. So again, worth looking at our website and finding out about all of this. And finally, on terms of what you get with your membership, I mentioned the NCE, the new civil engineer. Those come out once a month. As a student member and a graduate member, you'll get a digital copy, and a good way of keeping yourself with what's going on around the world in civil engineering. There's lots of stuff on sustainability, lots of useful stuff. Again, can be a bit focused on the UK, but there's also articles from around the world as well. Okay, I just wanted to add in, this is sort of getting towards my last thoughts. Continuous professional development. So once you start working, as you're going through, as you're working, you'll be learning all sorts of new skills. You'll be going on training courses, you'll attend webinars, you'll be learning things yourself, you'll be talking to other people to learn things. And hopefully your employer will encourage you to keep a log of your development, your continuous professional development. So that's all these courses and training sessions you're doing alongside your day-to-day work. So CPD, as it says there, is a way for you as a professional to show that you're keeping your skills, knowledge, and experience up to date and recording what you learn, and then use it on your job. So you're going to be learning things all the time, and hopefully you'll be starting to keep a record. Now, for ICE membership, we need you to demonstrate and to submit your CPD record. So if you use mentor supported training, we expect you to maintain your CPD records. For your professional review, you will need to submit your CPD records going back 3 years. And throughout your membership of the ICE, it is a requirement, of an ethical requirement, part of your professional commitment, that you maintain your CPD records. So as you go out into the world of work, it's a good idea to start keeping CPD records. And if you look at our guidance document there, you will see a format at the back of it. There's a template for how we like people to keep CPD. Now, there isn't an absolute requirement for you to do it in that way, but I would advise you to do it in that way. So it's worth having a look at. And we split CPD into 2 parts. So we have the record of what you are doing on a day-to-day basis, so a record of those courses that you have attended. But then we also have something that you would do once a year, which is the development action plan. And then that's where you plan the CPD activities you need to do over the next 12 months. So do take the time to have a look at that. And once you're working, start filling it out, because, as I say, you will need to submit CPD records throughout your ICE career. The next slide I'm going to skip over because it's just there we go. That was just a little video clip, but actually it's probably not I don't think I've initialized sound, so I don't think it'll work, so we'll just leave it. So that is my presentation. Yeah, so back over to you for any questions or anything if you think I've missed anything that people want to know about.
All right, thank you so much, Kath. I think they would direct their questions to you during the Q&A session happening later, towards the latter part. So thank you so much for that deep dive into different membership pathways and ways to reach professional statuses, because that was incredibly insightful. We've now neared the conclusion of this knowledge-filled event, and to wrap it up, I'd now like to invite the CEO of the ESOFT College of Engineering and Technology, Mr. Prasad Piris, to share a few words with our audience.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you, Kat. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of ESOFT College of Engineering and Technology, I thanks everyone for joining this session on advancing your professional status through ICE. My special heartfelt thank goes to Kat Mansell for her informative and engaging session. Right? I think this is one of the best webinar we had, where that the flow of the language, the explanation was very smooth, and I think any layman could understand the entire process of memberships. And Kat has been continuously working with us since last few years, and her contribution to this college was immense. Not only the college, there are a few many students got the charterships, and she gave time to time mentorships and kind of support you getting these students to obtain their charterships or professional memberships. And once again, thank you very much, Kat, being here and for very informative session. Right? Also, our organizing committee, thank you so much for the hard work you have put on to this. And we know that behind the screen, there are lots of work. And last but not least, Visha, you put this into very energetic presentation. Thank you for your voluntary effort here. And finally, to all our participants, remember, we do not expect you to end up your career with a degree, right? Although we provide the education, our intention is to you will be educated, as well as you have your professionally recognized engineer. That's our intention. Then today, you get an understanding, being a civil engineer, how can you achieve different stages of the professional memberships with ICE. And I think lots of you now receive your year reports, that means transcript from Kingston University, and some might be studying, that who are studying can obtain the student memberships, as Kat mentioned. Those who completed the degree, now the flow is open to apply for graduate memberships. It's very simple process. And what you can do is you can go to website like Kat mentioned. And as college, we attest your qualification. If you go to the next slide, I have explanation here that ICE wants us to confirm, putting a statement like this, I confirm this qualification, like that, for the ICE graduate memberships. Then what we do is we attest this qualification and we will revert you back. Then what you can do is you can upload this qualification, your year report or transcript to the ICE website to get the memberships and follow the due process, right? Then we invite everyone to get the ICE memberships or student memberships or graduate memberships and climb up to the US charter memberships. Okay, let me share a small story which inspire you to go towards this pathway. This is about Vistache, right? Because I got to know Kat because of Vistache, because when we were having discussions, then Vistache introduced Kat to me. Then from that day onwards, we are having this ICE webinar. We started actually joined ESOFT College of Engineering back in 2016, I guess, right? Now he completed his Pearson HND, right? Now, I saw there were few questions asking about HNDs and all, BTech HNDs. Vistaj completed BTech HND here, and he completed top-up degree from Kingston University, London, civil engineering BSc degree. Following to the BSc degree, he went to the industry, did some work, and again came to the college and followed the MSc in structural design and construction management. That is why I confidently shared with you MSc in structural design and construction management work you can submit for your charter applications, right? Then he faced the professional reviews. Then with this profession, once he successfully completed the professional reviews, he got the MIC statuses. Then MIC statuses enable him to become a charter member at Institution of Engineers, right? Engineering Council of UK. And as Kat mentioned, right? You might think, okay, these things, 1, 2, 3 years, you can achieve everything. But although you achieve your MSc and BSc, these are time bound, and if you study well, then you can pass and you can get the qualification. That achieving professional status is some extra effort you have to put, right? I remember how Vistash engaged in this process. He wanted to find a mentor. It was very difficult for him to find a mentor in Sri Lanka, but he used the LinkedIn as a social network to find a potential mentor. Through LinkedIn, he found a potential mentor and he got connected with the ICE. Finally, there were few rounds of mentoring processes. Then he achieved the siege, the trick, or what you call this most important thing was when Mr. achieved his chartership, he was at 28 years, right? He's fairly young, right? Even Sri Lankan State University graduate to after passing out, they need at least 5 years to get the charterships through IESA, right? That means 32, 34, 35 years, right? But when Vistas achieved his chartership, it was around 28 years, right? But I am not saying that everyone can achieve the chartership at 28 years, but it depends on how much effort you put. I think Kat will agree on me. She mentioned about the different timelines and all. Okay. And I think you will take this as an inspirational story, right? Well, if Vistaj can do that, why I can't do this, right? Now, Vistaj is a design engineer, one of the world-leading civil consultancy firm involved in Saudi Line project. I think you, as civil engineers, you should know what's meant by Saudi Line project, right? It's a huge, one of the world's biggest infrastructure project happening right now. Now he has secured the job here there, right? As Kat mentioned, that those who having the charterships of ICE will have international opportunities. Okay. As a final note, I want everyone to take this as an inspiration and go through your ICE pathway and achieve your chartership. Be sure you are hitting your goals. Have a great evening and thank you, everyone. Over to you, Visha.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prasad, for those heartfelt closing words. And with that, we officially wrap up today's webinar. A big thank you to all of you who joined us because your presence truly made this session worthwhile. To Ms. 𝗵𝗵, thank you once again for sharing your expertise and helping us understand the road to becoming a chartered engineer more clearly. We hope today's session left you, our audience, feeling inspired, informed, and of course, a step closer to your professional goals. Until next time, stay curious, keep pushing boundaries, and never stop building the future. On that note, we conclude today's proceedings and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Kat.
Thanks. My pleasure. See you next time.
See you next time.
Yeah.